Hi there, Shalini here from Tech Gatha, and this video covers about if-else conditional construct. If you remember the last operator, that is ternary operator that we learned, this also helps you to do conditional programming. So the voting example where we check the eligibility of a voter. If true, then it displays the result can vote, else it displays the result cannot vote. So we saw that whatever we write after question mark evaluates for true, and whatever we write after colon evaluates for false. Now there are limitations with ternary operators. What are they? For example, I want to see that if a particular voter is eligible, I need to be able to take input, that is the details of that voter. That means I need to be able to do something like this, and I'll say suppose string name is equals to, and I have a scanner object, and I'll say sc.next, enter the name. I also want to take suppose the city from where the particular voter will be voting. So I'll say string city is equals to sc.next, and so on. So I should be able to write multiple lines of codes. But you would see that the Java compiler complains saying illegal start of expression. Whenever we have more than one statement, it marks the block, and the blocks are represented by curly braces. But ternary operators doesn't allow writing multiple statements. This is an error. Now how do we resolve this is, now in the ternary operators, the first part was the condition. So what we'll do, we'll just copy the condition as it is. Now what we say, if age greater than equal to 18, the person should be eligible to vote, and then we will take more details about that voter. So that means we need to be able to write this part of code as it is. So if block helps us to write multiple lines of code marked by curly braces. So let us comment this out by using multi-line comments. So if this condition is true, I go inside the if block. The if block is marked by curly braces. The statements inside this execute. So let me just take up this, and I'll say enter your name, and same I can say enter your city. Once it is done, then I can definitely write something that thanks for providing details and the name to be displayed. Right now in ternary operators, if the condition is true, whatever you write after the question mark evaluates. But if the condition is false, whatever you write after the colon, it evaluates. Same way here also, if the condition is true, whatever you write inside the curly braces executes. But in case the condition is false, you also need to handle the else part. Then you have the else. So this part evaluates only if the condition is true, and this part evaluates if the condition is false. So then here I can say, sorry, you cannot vote as you are not eligible. Fine. So let's go ahead and execute and see. Now when I enter the age as 15, that means of course this condition will not be true. It goes in else, and it says sorry, you cannot vote as you are not eligible. Let's execute once again. Now here if I enter a valid age, say 20. Now because I am eligible, my age fulfills this condition. I go inside the if block, and you will see all these 5 statements are executed. Enter your name, enter your city, and it displays a message, thanks for providing details, Shalini. So this is the way you can use if-else conditional constructs, and it also helps to write or execute multiple lines of code when the condition becomes true, which we have limitations with ternary operator. Next, we have some rules with if-else as well. So let us create a new class. So a small class created with a main method inside it. Now To understand if else, what I'll do, I'll just take a variable number and I'll assign some value to it. Now if I write if number mod 2 equal to 0, this is the divisibility test for 2. That means it's an even number, right? So I can display a message system.out.println and I can say number is an even number, and that's it. So I can just write a if and a statement to execute. You can see that I haven't put curly braces over here. We will see what happens. Now supposedly I again write this and I just say over here thanks. Okay. Now if this condition is true, which in our case will be, it should execute these two statements because we have written these two statements after if. Now if we compile and if we execute, you would see it displays 100 is an even number. It also displays thanks. It executes both the statement. Now let's go ahead and change the value of number from 100 to 101. Now this if block doesn't satisfy the condition because the number is not even. So ideally these two statements should not print. So let's go ahead and execute. You can see only one statement gets executed. Now the reason behind this is because we haven't put a curly brace after the if, only one statement is executed as a part of if. This statement prints irrespective of the if condition, if it is true or false. So mind it that curly braces are optional. I want that this statement should be printed only if the condition is true. That means these two statements should be a part of if. I need to provide a block of code I put inside a curly braces. So if there are more than one statements to be executed, if the condition is true, put them in curly braces. If there is only one statement to be executed, then the curly braces are optional. Now we saw over here that we haven't written else. So else is not mandatory. It is optional. So only if you want to handle for the false conditions is when you can write else. Again the same thing follows over here as well, that the curly braces are optional if you want to just print one statement. So we'll say over here number is odd. And we compile and we execute. So you can see 101 is odd. So it goes in the else block and it prints number is odd. Again the same thing over here. If I have one more SOP statement, and suppose here I just write main ends, and if I compile and if I execute it again, you would see that now it prints 101 is odd and main ends. But what about if the number is even? So if I go ahead and make this as an even number, and now if I again execute it, you would see it prints 100 is an even number. It prints thanks. Why? Because these two statements are part of if block marked by the curly braces. Because the condition was true, it is an even number, it prints these two statements. Now because the condition is false, the else part doesn't execute, and since the curly braces are absent, this statement is only a part of else block. This statement executes irrespective of whether the condition is true or whether the condition is false. So curly braces plays an important role when you are working with if-else conditional constructs. One more important rule with if-else is else has to be an immediate block after if. So for example, if I put a statement over here, right? Now if I compile, it gives me an error saying that else without if. Why? Because if curly braces starts over here, curly brace ends over here. So these two statements are part of if block. Now this statement is neither a part of if block, neither a part of else, and else is dangling because it is not starting immediately after if. So make sure that whenever you have an else, it has to immediately followed by an if, and else cannot exist without an if. So if I write this, again it's an error, that is else without if. So this is all about if-else conditional constructs. How do you write, how do you manipulate, and how do you work with it. We can also have multiple values over here. So for example, I want to say that if a number is divisible by 2 and I want to say that number divisible by 5, then it will print number is divisible by 2 and 5. And we just remove this thanks from here. We don't need this because this is of course an error, and we can just have this as it is, and I'll say else number is not divisible by 2 and 5. So it's not that you can have only one condition. You can combine relational and logical operators, and you can have as many expressions combined as possible. But remember that the whole expression after evaluating should always return to either a true or a false, that is a Boolean value. So if works on Boolean value. So the expression that you write needs to evaluate to either a true or a false. If it is true, the if block gets executed. If it is false, then the else block gets executed. So with this, we come to an end of this video. There is an assignment on the same whose link is provided in the description. Do not forget to go ahead and test yourself. For any questions or queries, feel free to ping in the comment section, or you can also connect me from my contact page of my website, whose link is again provided in the description. So happy learning, take care, and bye-bye.